Welcome back to the 21 Convention 2017 10-year anniversary live event in Orlando, Florida. Our next speaker is a very good friend of mine. He's not just a friend, he's a veteran alumni speaker, one of the most veteran of this entire event. He has taken it upon himself to actually be the ambassador for the new speakers at this event that we have so many of. So your next speaker is Socrates, and he has actually followed this event since he's followed me since before the inception. We used to argue and stuff with each other back in the day on internet forums and got into it here and there. But he's followed this convention since the beginning, and he has been instrumental in bringing it to where it is today and where it will go in the future, as you guys will find out on Saturday. So again, his name's Socrates. He's at manningupsmart.com, and he's an excellent friend of myself and the 21 Convention itself. Come on stage, buddy.
Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm Socrates, and I help people understand and navigate the sexual marketplace. I do that by using a cross-disciplinary approach of combining anthropology, history, sociology, and then psychology to influence how and why we make decisions the way we do. Professionally, I'm an architect, and part of my education, training, development, and professional responsibilities is leading and orchestrating cross-professional disciplinary teams, civil engineers, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all together to create visions and structures for clients in often very harsh natural and social environments. I leverage that background and those transferable skills to my influence with clients and individuals dealing in dating environments, their relationships, their marriages, to understand their position within the sexual marketplace and what they can expect from that. Many of my critics cannot speak to about many of the things I'll profess within relationships, particularly in today's age. And there's a number of reasons for that. Many is because they have no ability to do so. Okay, right or wrong, they just lack the fundamental ability. The other is, like myself, may have had gross concerns about today's sexual marketplace and the sexual political nature of our culture. The threats are real. They're a concern. Okay? And in many ways, I understand people not wanting to engage in relationships, particularly long-term, where there is such a threat exposure. Ultimately, I think your destination is going to be chosen and driven by your values. All right? And so it's why I'm willing to stand up here and profess many of the things that I do. Today we're going to be, this week in this convention, we're going to be talking a lot about red pill awareness, red pill culture, and many people don't know and understand it. In many ways, it's a euphemism based on the cultural movie The Matrix, in which a hero was given an opportunity of free choice and a rational choice to choose to view the world as it is rather than the way he perceived it to be. The blue pill, the alternative choice, was that he was to remain ignorant. He would be unaware of the realities around him, okay? And he would be able to live his life in a fantasy world, okay? The issue with the red pill choice is that you're making a choice of viewing the world as it is, as opposed to the world that could be or the way you believe it should be. In many ways, the philosophy is kind of summed up here with a Russian proverb. It's better to be slapped with the truth than kissed with a lie. And it's a fairly simple, straightforward approach. Everybody kind of thinks, okay, we do this until it becomes a sense of reality. Nobody likes, trying to swallow a jagged truth. And in many ways, this will be the first Darwin. Nature will win. It's a simple statement. Your consequentiality is debatable. I'm kind of reminded of Robert Frost's thought that he was able to surmise everything he knew about life in 3 simple words. Life goes on. Okay? You'll hear it saying it in a number of ways. Rollo, I think, has written a blog post, famously saying, nature doesn't care. And it doesn't. Okay? These are harsh realities. This is a harsh truth to accept. We're all due to a grave. There's no doubt about this. The only promise in life is that you're going to die. The question is what do you do in the interim? And that becomes a defining element of your life. The summation of the entire time What did you do? What did you accomplish? What did you stand for? How did that drive your life? And these are going to be some of the things that we discuss within today's events, and particularly mine. There's an elephant in the room when we talk about red pill community. For a community so fascinated with swallowing truths and having others face that, what is the reality that they're not facing or addressing? And it's a concerning one. It's one of the reasons why, while I'm aware of it, I don't fully embrace a lot of it. Because I don't like how they're viewing the far end. And it simply is this. Biology commands you to have children. Your humanity should command you to raise them. That is very much going to be a red pill for the red pill community. It is something they're not going to want to swallow. It's something each of you are going to have to look at and evaluate in your own life. Do you take the red pill and embrace and prepare for that? Or do you take the blue pill and live the life you want to believe? The life that this doesn't matter. That you're not obligated as a biological species to do the following. The reality is, you can address that in a number of ways. In fear, anxieties, you're not prepared. Or you can sit down and say, look, I know I'm going to be facing this. And work at it, bit by bit. What I see a lot of times are people that are avoiding responsibilities, accountability, okay, for any number of reasons. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be very, very demanding. It's going to be incredibly difficult in its own right. Add that to the cultural and social impositions that we place on culture today, and you sit down and say, I understand why you wouldn't. The problem, though, is that when we get wrapped up into the narcissism of now, we don't really get anywhere. It's short-term thinking. It's short-term processing for long-term ramifications. And there's tremendous dangers here for the individuals, for society on a whole. Ultimately, individually, you're going to have an individual response. It'll be up to you. Ultimately, your sex drive is just the beginning of your biological imperative. Your biological imperatives are there to make sure that the species is able to survive and reproduce. Your sex drive, your desire to have sex, is just the starting point for all this. It's not the end result. If you don't go through that process, you're not going to end up being whole. You're going to live a stunted human existence. You can build a wall of facts between you and this reality. And God knows I had gone through that process. You can see that with a lot of the presentations I've had done previously, where I was very concerned about today's cultural marketplace. I was very concerned about my ability to be a father, to be a man. What does that mean? How do I deal with that? But I was actively pursuing and investigating those things. You can build a wall of facts between you and reality. The problem is biology doesn't care. That doesn't change biology. Life will go on. Nature will win, and nature doesn't care. It compels you to reproduce. It compels you to become a father, to become a parent. And that is an essential element of our humanity. Nature also abhors a barren womb. The same way it abhors masculine impotency. Your choice to be so struck or so in fear of your biological imperatives is willful impotence. And that's a choice you make. It is important to reflect upon these sort of things and to realize what you're doing. And unfortunately, culturally, we've scared ourselves limp. And unfortunately, a pharmaceutical blue pill won't be the solution here. For any of you who think, hey, Sock, I'm going to age, and as a man, I can still produce sperm and have children at 90. And the reality is, you're right, you can. But there are genetic ramifications to it. There's an element of sperm decay associated with it. And your offspring will bear those risks and bear those medical abnormalities. You know, that would be nature's way of saying, your jizz ain't right. Okay, nature doesn't approve. And it gets worse. If you're taking a lot of this red pill wisdom and you're delaying these sort of decisions and you're pushing that decision making out, you're probably not going to mate and pair with somebody within your own social demographic age. You're not going to be dating, somebody who's in their 60s when you're having kids at 60. No, you're going to do the things that are being taught and cultured, a lot of the things we promote here, of getting the best value you can get. And that's going to be typically a 15 to 20 plus year span between age groups. The problem with that is there are heightened medical risks associated with that. When you take an old sperm factory and made it up with a new egg warehouse, nature says, no, sir. Your medical risks for abnormalities are greater than that of a single woman at 40 having her first job. Vastly more dangerous. And by the way, because men's health are so important in this culture, we're advertising that fact. We're letting men know, right? You've heard about this constantly in the news, right? So these are the forms where we have to be able to talk about men's health, men's sexuality, men's culture, and make each other aware. Women hit a biological wall. We're fairly well known about that. So do men. It doesn't happen the same time period, it's on a different arc, but it does happen. And the ramifications, culturally and personally, are no less significant. Don't think you have your entire life to kick a decision down the road and at the last moment you can change your mind. You can, but you're running a tremendous risk in doing so. And if you're concerned about your genetic legacy, what you leave behind, what you contribute to humanity, put your best foot forward. Think about where this should be taking place and when. When are you at your prime? Because ultimately, past your sexual peak, every day, every anniversary, you become increasingly insignificant to the point of your death. The other one, and I happen to really particularly love this slide, and it's based on showing human evolution. Of the 3 billion years of evolutionary sex, and this is just showing 14 million years, hominid evolution has been terribly successful. And what I want you to do right now is understand that we've had approximately 200,000 years of just human evolution. Think about right now, 500,000 generations behind you of your history, and you're the living, breathing edge of that humanity, that edge of your family lineage, that's 500,000 generations deep. I find that staggering, just really almost unfathomable. And then if you look at that sort of scale of picture and come to the conclusion, sorry man, you just can't get it done. You can't continue that legacy, that lineage, because society got in the way, because culture got in the way, because of, I don't know what, feminism. I understand the threats, I understand the risks, but at a certain point, your obligation is to get over that and to be successful. I guarantee you, this line, more people there had a more difficult time than we did. We can't be lazy and weak about facing the challenges of our day and age. We have family history here. You're living proof of it. Honor that existence. I also want to recognize that the forces and challenges that we face are very, very real. I don't want to diminish that by any stretch of the imagination just with this presentation. I've spoken at length about men's rights, about divorce law. We will speak at length this week about relationships, the dating environment, the cultural environment in which we stand. These are very real constructs. And if you're going to try to attempt to develop a relationship, trying to develop a family, my suggestion to you is remember the fable of the 3 little pigs. Do not build your relationship out of the wishful thinking of straw. Nature and human influence, unconstrained, will utterly destroy. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a hurricane come through. I guarantee you that hurricane, as much damage and how blusterous it was nothing compared to what going through a divorce proceeding is like. How your life is torn up. Everything's absolutely in disarray. These things are preventable. If we look to it, we train, we do the appropriate behavioral modifications, and we understand the underlying issues going on within relationships and relationship structures. When we talk about mating strategies, the human animal is terribly complex. At the base of it, we have 3 different brain structures as we evolved. The most primal is the limbic system, the hindbrain. That's kind of the lizard brain. It's the lizard response. It's a fight or flight. It's a survival mode. You can breed using mammalian breeding strategy, and that's completely works. Okay, and essentially it's nothing more than fuck, spray, and skedaddle. Okay, but the quality output is incredibly low. The parental input on that is incredibly low. That's a terribly low bar for humanity. The secondary challenge is the mammalian complex, the midbrain. And this is where you're going to actually sit down and say where we have these pair bonding influences, these biological urges to actually mate with somebody and kind of have a longer term relationship with them, stay with them for a period of time, and wishful thinking along those lines. You can do that too. And you're going to find in the red pill community there's a lot to be said about this. And a lot of it's going to be negative. Because unconstrained human nature just absolutely runs amok. There's no rules, okay? And it becomes very, very dangerous. And if you're not prepared for that, look out. You're going to suffer the consequences of it. The third one is actually used in our forebrain, the greatest brain we've ever had. We're the only creature with that much of a developed brain. And that is a very human element to it. It's what makes us human. And to utilize that knowledge to prepare us, to train, to develop ourselves, in response to everything we know that should be coming, the things that we've seen historically, the behavioral patterns, and prepare us for the challenges ahead. That is going to be a completely unique human construct. I'm going to advocate you'll also have better rewards out of here. You'll have a better quality life out of here. You're going to die happy. You're going to die fulfilled. Why? Because you're going to be complete. You're going to do everything your body naturally, biologically commands you to do, and you're going to do it with all the preconception of forethought, of planning and initiation and execution. And you're going to be surrounded with that knowledge. You're going to go to your grave knowing you completed yourself. If we have these biological imperatives, how does it play out with sexual criteria? How do we choose? What's driving those factors? Biological drivers are, I stated earlier, that they're unconstrained, okay, naturally. And for men and women, they're the same, okay? It's true for both sexes, not just women. It's true for both sexes, okay? And it's a result-oriented system. It doesn't care. It just wants results, okay? Which means it says the means and methods of accruing this is discretionary. Murder, rape, cheating, cuckoldry, all fair game in nature. Not civilized. Doesn't make it human. We do it. But it's not what we want to promote. It's not what we want to exemplify. Right? But if you don't know our base biological nature, you can't guard against it. You cannot prepare yourself for it. And you need to be aware of what these things are.